I'm Jim Chapman, developer of Freda, the book reader app. I'm going to run through a few quick instructions about what you'll see when you run Freda for the first time and how to use it to do some basic book reading tasks. So, when you first launch Freda, you'll get this initial setup screen, the first run screen, to take you through various initial settings and configure the app to your requirements. So just click continue, and let's assume you don't want accessible settings. That would mean menus that are accessible through keyboard actions rather than mouse clicks and taps on the screen, and other dyslexic friendly settings and so forth. Anyway, we don't want them, so we're going to configure next the user interface style, to what extent you want to see various application functions all laid out on one big wide screen, or whether you want them on tabbed control. You can set this to suit yourself in the app settings later, but for now the normal setting would be to pick the panorama view for a PC type user interface, or the tabbed view for a telephone interface. You can see there's this little button here because the text was too big to fit the screen, so you have an option to scroll up and down. The first run workflow screens all have this little control on them, though you can also pop up a scroll bar by clicking at the right hand side of the screen on a PC. So we're going to put it in panorama view. We're also going to configure it to use the application bar view rather than the application level menu bar. You can try the alternative if you like it, but app bar is generally better if you're using mouse and and touch. Menu bar might work better if you're using keyboard as your main scheme for controlling the app. No, I don't want to increase the size of the text in books. No, I don't want to customize the font setting for dyslexic readers. And now, if I have been using Freda before on this machine, I can restore the previous contents of the app. If I've been using it on a different machine, I could also restore from a backup that I've made previously on OneDrive or on this machine, but in this case I don't, so I'm going to not import anything and carry on with using the app. So it displays a pop-up to show what settings it's going to apply. I click confirm, it applies them, I dismiss the screen. So now I'm looking at this display. On the left I see a bookshelf, a list of books that I have already got access to. The initial setup of Freda just includes these links to 6 classic books. If I click on them, if I click on one of them, it'll open and I can read it in Freda. Then also on this screen, the sort of right part of the panorama, I have a list of book sources, places where I can fetch books from. So for example, I'm going to look in the Feed Books book source, and this is configured so that when you first open it, it will go to a list of popular classics. So I'm going to move to the next page of the list of popular classics, and I am going to select a few books. So there, I right-clicked on that book to start selecting it. That could also be a long click, or I could get to the start selecting action by using this selection control in the top app bar menu. So I'm going to just select a few books here. That will do. And use this selection control to download them. I could get the same effect by right-clicking or tap and holding on one of the selected books, but that's going to download, well, these 7 books. I confirm that I want to download them, and now If I go back to my list of books, you can see I've now got a load of books downloading. I can just wait for those to finish downloading. You'll see, incidentally, that the books are in this tiled layout. I've got the option to switch them into a straight list of books layout if I prefer the look of that. So let's open Emma, and there we have the title page of this book. If I click on the right hand side of the screen, you see I'm moving through the book. It's currently showing a colour scheme of white on black. I can change that if I want to see my book some other way. I'm just going to open up the controls ribbon by clicking on the three little dots at the bottom right of the page, and I'm going to use the ribbon here, the presets ribbon, to adjust the settings. I'm just going to switch, for example, to the light view. So now I'm seeing black text on a white background. So I can select text, for example, tap and hold on the word Emma, pops up these little selection handles and selects the text. If I want to adjust the range of text that's selected, I can drag the control around like this, and there we are. That's selected Emma Woodhouse. I'm going to show you how to put a highlight on her name. So that was just click on the selected area, and I'm going to tap a highlight. And now there's a blue highlight on the word Emma Woodhouse. I can remove that. I click it again, and I can do various things to the highlight, but here I am just going to delete it. Suppose instead I decide that I want to bookmark Emma. So back to that same menu again, and this is me adding a bookmark. Slightly different visual style. And the point about bookmarks is I can navigate to them. I can jump around the book from one bookmark to another. I can see a list of bookmarks. For example, if I open up my control ribbons again, you can now see in the bottom of the screen, the bottom ribbon contains this long strip which represents all the chapters in the book, and that red symbol which shows that there was a bookmark at this point. So suppose I move to this different chapter and then click. So I'm now somewhere in the middle of the book, but if I click on that bookmark, I am now able to go back to it. Suppose I wanted to add some commentary, some text to this bookmark. This is me doing so. And now when I look at that bookmark, I will see the associated commentary. Back on this ribbon, you can see there's an item at the left which is the list of all the bookmarks in the page, and this is where you can see that I've added some text to it. EPUB books typically have a built-in table of contents, and that's accessible from this button here, and you can see here all of the places in the book that appear in the table of contents. So this is me going to chapter 1 of part 2 of the book, chapter 2 of part 2 of the book, and so forth. Just navigating through the book's table of contents. I'll reopen that control ribbon and look at the top ribbon here, things you might want to do. That's the next chapter. So I've now gone to chapter 3 of part 2 and chapter 4 and so forth. It's a little tedious the way that these ribbons keep disappearing whenever I perform the action, though often that's what you want to do. You want to perform the action and just go straight back to reading the book. But The reason the ribbons are doing this is at the moment they're in this so-called stacked state, as in they sit on top of the book text. I could put this ribbon into a docked position, so dock it at the top of the page, and now while I'm reading the book and selecting text and whatever else, that ribbon stays docked. And so I can now use the buttons on that ribbon like this next chapter button, and the ribbon stays attached to the top of the screen. And if I then want to get rid of it, I could put it back to stacked at top and close it. And now I'm back to the regular view where the page is not obscured by the presence of ribbons. So that's a few basic points about how to use Freda. I suppose the last thing to say is, again from this ribbon at the top, you've got the back button, which just takes you back to the list of books that you came from. With that, I think you know everything that you would need to basically start using the Freda app. So I leave it to you to have a go and come back with any questions to the support email that's available here. You can also review the forum and the manual for the application. The help buttons here and on every other page will take you to chapters in the manual that may help you if you have any troubles. So thank you for watching. This has been an initial presentation of the Freda app.